Hi there! First of all, big thanks to Murphy Solutions who invited me to become a part of Crisisi Jam 2022. I am Johan Ivari, currently working as a lecturer and agile coach at Swedish Defence University. I've been in the armed forces for 30 plus years, and 15 of those I spent at the Swedish Armed Forces headquarters. And in that environment I got my fair share of routines, processes and frameworks. And from that source I will try to draw some of my conclusions and hopefully be able to share some with you. And I labeled this kind of talk to how to regain control of the uncontrollable. And within 7 bullets you will hear quite a lot of water, rain dances and colors. And why 7 bullets, you might wonder? Well, I was asked to speak between 15 and 20 minutes and I figured out, okay, if I have 7 bullets and take 2 to 3 minutes on each, it will add up to around 15 to 20 minutes. So we'll see if my conclusion was right. And the other aspect, if you really get bored, you know when it will end. So just start to count on whenever you feel like it. So, the first bullet. 1. Everything is in flux, so don't waste energy to try to contain it. And that stems back to the old Greek Heraclitus, who also said, no man steps in the same river twice, because it's not the same river and he's not the same man. And that frames the environment we are in today. Everything is in flux, it's a rate of change going from slow changing to really fast changing. And we must use our routines, processes and frameworks accordingly to understand that they need to change with the environment. And I guess you, as well as me, hate to not have control. It doesn't feel well. You kind of panic. But if you understand that you're not alone, everything is changing, so no one is in control, then you get some kind of relief. It's shared responsibility. Everyone has the same environment. So exactly like with water, change is not suited to freeze. Like an ice cube. You can have an ice cube and contain it for a while, but suddenly it will disappear from your hand. But most of the change today is more like water. And the harder you try to contain the water in your hand, you will spend a lot of energy without containing any water, and it will be the ultimate waste. So don't do that. Adapt to the kind of fluidity and the rate of change that you experience in your circumstances. So number 1, everything is in flux. Don't waste energy to contain it. Number 2, you need to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And that's a lyrics from Kenny Rogers' song The Gambler. And to understand that, we need to start with the definition of complex. And complex is something where cause and effect doesn't make sense other than in retrospective. When you see it, okay, it already happened, then it makes sense. But you can't understand, if I do A, then B will happen, then it's not a complex problem, then it's a simple or ordered problem. So the key here is to understand when you're entering a complex or ordered problem, or complex or ordered situation, or complex or ordered environment. And the companies that really has that ability to understand what type of problem or situation they enter, they will have a competitive edge and will be the survival of the fittest. So I think it was Dr. Kat Hicks that tweeted the other week that she don't understand. She sees so much effort in trying to make complex situation, complex problems simple, instead of making it simple to work with complex problems. And think about that. I think that's a really good tweet. And that's the main flaw in organization today. Instead of making it simple to work with complex problem, we spend huge of energy to make the complex simple. And that's not doable, not in the definition. We can't do it. We need to go with the flow. So, when you're dealing with an order domain, that's perfect environment for exploiting to make the more lean, more efficient processes and adapting with this continuous improvement. But when the circumstances change and the rate of change is fast, you fast become irrelevant. And then you need to explore. And that's another type of strategies used to explore and understand, okay, how will we do it now when the environment has changed? And I think Peter Drucker framed it best. He said, to be efficient doing the wrong thing is the ultimate waste. So keep that in mind. So number 2, you need to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Number 3, stop rain dancing and start reflecting. Everyone needs to understand how to crawl before you can run or a marathon or something like that. And that the same goes for routines, processes and frameworks. It's a great starting point. You can have some condensed knowledge, pack it into one of those. frameworks or processes and routines. But you need to look at them, and you need to look at your environment, and you need to combine, tailorize them so they suit your environment, who you are, who you want to become. Then you get something. And then as soon as you start, you need to put up the mirror on the wall to see, okay, we tried that, what was the outcome? And you need to compare those and adjust. So it's never fixed, it's ongoing. And I'm working within a university, Swedish Defence University, and we have lots of taxonomy about learning. We have Bloom's taxonomy and so on. But the best taxonomy that I know, that's the Japanese tea ceremony taxonomy, Shu-Ha-Ri. And according to the tea ceremony, you know what kind of temperature you should boil the tea, when to put in the tea leaves, how long they should be in there, and the moves to serve the tea, and from what angle, from left or right, and so on. But as soon as you understand then, and you had got the feelings from your customer, whoever you're serving, the environment, back to you, and you, okay, now I'm starting to understand that, then you can put in your own personality, your own thinking into making it better. And then you go from the Shu level, following the recipe, to the Ha level. I put my Johan touch on the tea ceremony. And then, as soon as I change the standard, it becomes the new standard. So now I'm back at the Shu level. So the next time, will it be sufficient, or can I even enhance it more? And then you had the continuous improvement. Shu-ha, 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 endlessly going on. So that's, everything is in flux. So our routines, our processes, our frameworks need to be in flux as well. So that was number 3. Stop brain dancing and start reflecting. Now let's leave the more philosophical approach and go to maybe 3 more concrete examples. And to not confuse you who already started to count down, I will continue the counting. So the first example will be labeled number 4, recruitment, number 5, change management, and 6, contingency planning. And there may be details that are completely wrong, but all of them are based on a true story at least. So 4, recruitment can have an impact on our culture as well as our mission alignment. That was a revelation I had working with recruitment a couple of years away. Me and my team, we were to recruit a bunch of people. We were expanding in a fast rate. So we, and the way we were doing it we didn't cope with the demand we had. So we need to figure out how to attract more people and how to shorten the process. How do you shorten the process? That's another step. But how we attract people, that's the example I will give now. So in the templates we got from HR was to, okay, this is armed forces, and you need to have a driving license, and you need to be a citizen, and so on and so on. And this is the environment you will be working in. That's the name, and this is your role. And when we looked at it, we didn't feel anything. It was just like a template. It was no coloring. It was black and white or grayish. So we said we need to change that in order to attract people, because we have a fun at work. We are a nice team. We enjoy each other. So how can we transform that information into this recruitment ad or job ad? So we're starting to understand, what are we really proud of? Who are we? And how will we frame that within 3 sentences? And that was really interesting, just first to grasp what we were proud of, but not at least important, what we weren't proud of. And the things that we weren't proud of, that was time to move from the Shu to the Ha, also to enhance it. And also who we wanted to be and what we were missing in our team to be able to accomplish that level. So we thought of a job ad more like a dating ad. I said, come and join us. Maybe we will marry together, and we will have 6 months to figure our marriage out if it will work or not. And that started another process. Instead of making the ads more attractive and attracted, I think it was about 10 times more attractive or more applicants to our ads after that change. But it also started a journey for us to understand what's good in our culture, what's wrong in our culture, and how do we contribute to the higher mission. So that aligned the several teams together in a very impressive way. So we continued. For every ad, we had the same procedure, and it went faster and faster, but it added something continuously. And that's the important thing that I also would express is when we had ad out with the help of HR, I asked my employees, okay, will you publish it on your social private media? And most of them said, sure, yes, of course. But there were a couple of people that were quite hesitant. And I said, there's information there. So I started to speak with them within 4 or 6 hours. Oh, okay, you don't need to do it, but I'm curious, why are you reluctant? And that was also important information that we can take in that said something about our culture and whether we were aligned in the team or not. So continuously ask yourself, who are you as a team, and who do you want to be, and what needed to help you to achieve that, and see that within the recruitment as an ecosystem. So number 4, recruitment that can have an impact on our culture as well as our mission alignment. Number 5, less is more, at least regarding phase gates. And this is connected to change management. In 2003, the armed forces decided to buy a new ERP system, and the company that won that bid was SAP. And I won't make any statements about whether that was a good decision or not. You know, in retrospective, you can have an opinion, but that's not important. Important was what information did you have at that time and what decision did you make. But at the start, I think within a year, we had a project with over 100 people involved and a huge lot of money. And that complex matter of much money, lots of things to do, and a lot of people to coordinate. Even that complex mess of interactions, from an idea to a change implemented, only took 7 internal phase gates steps. And that was quite impressive regarding how much uncertainty it was involved in everything. So I was quite surprised when I, about 7 years later, entered the same system, but then in a more stable environment. And in this environment, there were fewer people, and routines were just going and flowing, and the uncertainty level had decreased a lot. So there were less risk involved. But the phase gate had increased from 7 up to its worst 21 gates, from an idea to a change to an implemented change. And that was quite confusing for me. And I started thinking, why is that? And the more time I spent with different teams, I started to realize what's going on. As soon as an incident occurred, you had some kind of incident manager to analyze it, and together with some change advisory board or expert, product owner, okay, what to do about it? Okay, we didn't know about this was a problem. So now we know, and we need to hire an expert to figure out how to control so this error will never happen again. And I contacted a new expert, and that expert, okay, I can control it, but then I must be a part of the process so they don't bypass me, and you add another layer. And that's how, in your best effort to build robust and resilient system, what you're doing is you're building a complex process. And as we said, when something is complex, cause and effect doesn't hang together. So if we put something input to a complex process, you don't know what you will get out. So instead of treating every incident as we need to add another layer, I think you should have an opposite approach. A little like, you know, when Steve Jobs and Wozniak had their first assignment to build a game console Atari at the 80s. And the assignment was, okay, can you build a game control with less than 50 chips? Then you will get $700. But if you make it to less than 40 chips, you will have a $1,000 bonus. And that was an offer given to Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs told Wozniak to if they were building this Atari game console, they will get the $700, and they will do it within 40 chips. And they delivered. The number was under 40, so they shared this $350, but Steve Jobs never told Wozniak about the $1,000 bonus. But that's exactly how we need to do with those phase gates, to find incitament or encourage people and decision makers to, can we take away phase gates? Because if you take away phase gates, the whole becomes more simple, and you can understand what's going on. And then you build in robustness and resilience. The other part is to take away as many change advisory boards as possible. And I have been in many of those, so I know a bit what I'm talking about. You're sitting there dislocated from the team, usually on a higher level than the team. I would say, take away that. Let the architects, the security experts, go out to the team, be in the environment with the team, ask how they can serve, how they can help, servant leadership, and get a feeling of what the questions are going on in that environment. And explain to the team, okay, we want to build in security, we want to build in quality, we want to build in resilience, we want to build in robustness. And you will see that the team will respond, but okay, is that what you're aiming for? Then we should do like this, instead of just being like robots. And as soon as the team starting to give you advice on how to do things, they take ownership, and that ownership is gold. So as soon as they starting to take ownership, it's time to you as a coach or leader or manager to step away and just let them go. And then you add the color for people, and it will adhere to the Agile Manifesto, the #1 bullet, people and interactions over processes and tools. That is so important. Instead of just looking at documents, say, okay, approved, not approved, see them, feel their pain, and be servant. As well as you expect them to be servant to the next step in the process when they hand over to the implementation, operation, whatever, to be there instead of mailing it, to go and help with the struggle to make it flow. So away with the phase gates, away with the red lights, make roundabouts so the whole process flow and everyone will gain, and you will not end up in a complex process that doesn't help anyone other than produce a lot of heat and waste. So number 5, less is more, at least regarding phase gates. Number 6, contingency planning can't be made in silos. It was one day, maybe 10 years ago, I was surfing the intranet. Not that exciting, but I was doing it anyway. And I was quite surprised. I saw a lot of documentation about contingency planning and also PowerPoint presentation, how it would be done, and also metrics, how you can measure time before delay and whatever. I was quite impressed with the huge amount of information. That it was more or less a framework. So I went back to my enterprise architect and said, okay, maybe you should write some principle of how to do contingency planning. About 1 year later, our Armed Forces Operational Commander commanded the Air Force, the Navy, as well as the Army. I don't know, remember if the logistics, but the Army as well. They need to do contingency planning. And I was at that time connected to our communication and IT regiment. And they were also about to do contingency planning. So when I was at the starting meeting, I said, okay, let's do contingency planning. Everyone needs to do it. And we had some templates to do it. So my question was, how can we do contingency planning? Because we are integrated in the operational level of the Army, of the Navy, and the Air Force. And to understand how we should do our contingency planning, we need to understand how they intend to do their contingency planning. And almost everyone agrees, oh, that's perfect, you're completely right, but the time says no, and we need to fill in the forms to get approvals before the date expires. And that's when we enter this rain dancing again. We produce a huge amount of rubbish just to get approval to post dates, and that's to, like Peter Drucker said, to be efficient doing the wrong things. So we need to stop doing the rain dance. So contingency planning can't be made in silos. Now, to turn up to the last bullet and round off, I will state it as a question. Number 7, must our efforts to enhance robustness or resilience in times of crisis or to prevent crisis be boring? Must it be boring? Or do we just need to add some color, life into the forms of the process order to make it come alive and more fluid, and change the rain dance move to more fluent dances that adapts to our environment and our circumstances? So instead of thinking, this is boring, this is hard, I need to read so much, make it simple to start. Just, okay, this is one example, take it to your environment, understand how. Instead of just, okay, this is boring, let's hire a consultant, and we got an approved label, and then we can flash it on our website, ISO X approved. Take it from the start, make it to your own, tailorize it. Start with small steps and put up, as the first step, put up the mirror and see, okay, how do we improve? What result do we achieve back? And how do we advance from there? So we need to embrace change. Instead of hating change, understand everyone, it's unavoidable. We need to embrace it. And since we don't know, we need to trust the ones who are still developing our system and running the operations. Let them tell how to do it. Just explain the sense of direction that we are headed and let them explain to you how to reach to that level. And as soon as we trust them and they starting to taking ownership, then it's time to take a step back, relax, and enjoy the ride while the team take you down to the stream of rapid change. And to end off, I would like to quote Stephen Covey, who says, Sometimes to gain control, you need to release control, and I think it's time to do it.